Hi, my name is Ramone Stark, and I'm the leader of Troupe belly dancing in Grass Valley. And I've been invited by the Nevada County Library System to participate in what they're calling Adventures in Egypt for Egypt Week. And they've asked me to talk about Zills, which is the musical instrument that's used to accompany dancers when they're doing belly dancing. So first I'm going to talk about how in ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia, back in 1500 BC, that's when the Zills came about. And they were actually named after Cybele, who was after cymbal, and that means goddess nature, or nature goddess. And back then they would play their little cymbals with like a little ringing sound. And as time went on, other countries like Turkey and Persia, they would pick up their own zills, often called zagat. And that's actually what they were called in Egypt, and the Turkish ones were called zills. But the American belly dancing groups always call them zills. So that's what we're going to call them today. And the sounds can be changed with these zills because they are different sizes, and they're can be different diameters up to these big boys, or you've got these littler ones, and they come even smaller, and they come even bigger. And so the tones can be different, and the weights of the zills can make different qualities. And let me just play these in that same fashion. So you can hear it's a totally different sound, a heavier sound. And each Zill comes with a couple of little slots in them for your elastic to be wrapped through, and then that's what goes on your fingers, and we will talk about that in a little bit. So the zills tend to resonate, and you can hear that continue to ring, and that's one of the sounds, so you can either do it a clack or a ring. But we're going to be putting them on our fingers here in just a little bit. So the zills are made of brass or some type of other bronze material, and sometimes they're chrome plated if you want to have silver zills. Like if you were wearing a costume that had a lot of silver in it, then you would want to have your zills match your costume. So if you are not wearing that and your zills are golden, you can pick any of these other type of materials to go with your costume. Some of them have engraving on them with some type of Egyptian figures, or these I think happen to have some flowers that were probably from Egypt somewhere on them. And these big boys, they don't have anything on the back, but they're shaped just a little differently. They have a little flat space on the back. So they're going to sound a little bit clackier than these that don't have that. So when you're learning to play the zills from the very beginning, you're a beginner student, these little lightweight zills, nice and shiny, are probably the best ones for you to get to just learn with instead of getting something heavy, because your hands are going to have to get used to holding them and moving back and forth, as I will show you, to get them to play. So lightweight is better. Also, the zills come with those little grooves or little slots I was telling you about, and that's for your elastic to go through. And the elastic is just a loop, and then it's tied in the back, and that goes on your fingers, which I'll show you in a second. So the little grooves, 2 grooves in each zill. Now these zills are very beautiful. They're nice and engraved, but they are kind of heavy, and they only have 1 hole in the middle. So when you put those on, they can move around on you. So they can start they're heavier, so they move around your finger, and they want to just kind of wobble. So the slotted ones are the best for beginners. My friend Betsy here is joining me so I can show you some rhythms that we do with the zills, and the dancers can accompany themselves with these rhythms. And they don't even really need any other band members to do that. They can just accompany themselves, as you will see when we get to the full rhythms of them. And so we're going to start out This is, like I said, this is my friend Betsy, and she's also in my belly dance troupe. And so we're going to do first how the sounds of the zills. So first we have the quiet clicking. And this is pretty much the basic clicking that you would use when you're playing the zills. Then we have the bell-like. And for that, you keep your hands at a little bit more of a C shape and just hitting the tip. Then we have a more of a clack. So the clack would be more like. Now you can intermix them. You can go. As you'll see when we start doing the rhythms, they don't always come out all the same thing at the same time. So then we also have the muted one, where you put your fingers on top of the zills and then you play them. So it makes it a little bit quieter in case you're practicing at home with some of your family members and you're driving them crazy with your little zill practice. It's a little bit easier on the ears, also for your animals. So when you're holding your zills, you don't want to hold them in front of your face like I was just doing to demonstrate, but you want to have your hands faced up mostly and just doing this little rhythm. This is just a simple rhythm. But when you're dancing, you're moving your arms. Okay, so you get the idea of how these rhythms start to move with your body when you're dancing. So that's why they're very important for belly dancers to learn to use the zills so you can accompany yourself. So some of the rhythms, the maksum rhythm is a 4/4 count, and that's a very basic count for rhythms in belly dancing and dancing. You can easily keep a rhythm. So the first one is just, like I said, a 1, and we're going to do it with a count of 8. So it's just 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can also double that. So using right and left. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. So that makes it a pattern, more of a pattern. You can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So that becomes its own little rhythm, just using some really basic zill clicking. So you can also put some little words to it if you want to try to remember your little sequence. So this one could be supercalifragilistic. 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 And you have, that way, it gives you something to remember when you're playing along. At this point, we're going to show you a couple of dances to the belly beat, and our first one is a solo by Suzanne. The dancers in our troupe at this point is, we've got Suzanne, Lori, I'm Ramone, and Betsy, and back in back of Sandra, Jackie, and Eve. And we are going to do a song called Rebirth, also to the Bellamy Beat.